Hi, my name is James. I'm a knee, foot and ankle specialist and I've been giving advice on footwear to our patients for over 10 years. Today I'm going to break down the difference between the Cloudmonster 2 and the Brooks Ghost Max 2 in terms of fit, comfort, walking, running, standing in them all day, and hopefully by the end of the video you'll have a better idea of what shoe might work best for you. I try to keep the videos as concise as possible, reduce the amount of waffling so you can get as much information out of it in a short period of time. So the first thing we'll talk about is the stack height, so that's the amount of cushioning in this shoe. In the Cloudmonster 2, you've got 35mm at the rear foot, 29mm at the forefoot. That gives you a 6mm drop. And then in the Ghost Max 2, you've got a little bit more stack height, so you've got 39mm at the rear foot, 33mm at the forefoot, and that gives you a 6mm drop. Slightly heavier in the Ghost Max 2, roughly around 309 grams for men's size 9 US, and 295 grams for men's size 9 US in the Cloudmonster 2. Then in terms of the cushioning, that's where they start to get different. So in the Brooks Ghost Max 2, you've got the DNA Loft V3 midsole. So that gives you a relatively firm ride, but it has a little bit of compliancy to it. So when we think about cushioning, we think about compliancy and resilience. Resilience means that it's quite bouncy and pushes back like a spring. If it's compliant, you sink into it like a sponge or walking on a cloud. So it's super soft, not as much feedback. A bit more of a compliant cushioning in the Brooks Ghost Max 2, a little bit firmer of a ride in the On Cloud, which has its Haline cushioning, and a new dual density midsole with a TPU plate rather than carbon fiber plate, and that plate just adds extra stiffness, so it's really hard to bend the shoe, whereas you can see in the Ghost Max 2 you got lots of flexibility in the toe box. So what you get is a much firmer ride with the Cloudmonster 2, so that's walking and for running. What we found with this midsole is that it's a little bit better for more up-tempo runs with the Cloudmonster, so faster runs, higher pace, whereas the Brooks is a bit more of a cruiser, excellent for slow controlled runs over time, those longer slogs, or for walking for long periods of time. In terms of the stability in the shoes, we'd classify them both as a stable neutral, and what that means is they're classified as a neutral shoe with just some stability elements to it. It's a bit more stable in the Brooks, and they provide that stability by having sidewalls from the heel to the midfoot. Now sidewalls, you think about them as guide rails in a bowling alley. They just keep your foot centered in the shoe as you move. Then in the forefoot, they've got some nice sole flare, so the sole comes out a little bit wider than where your foot sits in the bed, giving it a broader base of support, and that provides extra bit of stability. Now the sidewalls are also found in the Cloudmonster 2. Both shoes, it's excellent for when you're standing, it just cradles the foot, gives you that nice bit of support. But it doesn't have as much sole flare on the On Cloud, so it's just not as stable, doesn't have as broad of a base as the Ghost Max 2. So a little bit less stable, but still a relatively stable shoe, and more on the stable end of a neutral than a neutral only. Then as we move up into the upper part of the shoe, both shoes are super roomy. So for other brands such as the Hoka, I tend to need to get a wider version as it's too snug on the forefoot. Not an issue with the Brooks or the Cloudmonster here. Super roomy, true to size, don't need to size up for these. But they are slightly different when it comes to the cushioning and the padding, so especially in the tongue. So you can see in the Ghost Max 2 it's a really padded tongue, where it's got a super thin tongue on the Cloudmonster 2. Now we found a little bit of extra pressure on the front of our ankle, our anterior ankle, when we locked down the laces with the Cloudmonster 2, just because it lacked that padding. So if you have any history of issues with that, you might find it a little bit uncomfortable. Secondly, with the heel canter, super stiff in the Brooks, which is what we'd expect, as it provides that extra bit of stability to make up for the unstable aspect of having a high stack. However, a lot of motion available in the heel canter on the Cloudmonster 2. Now, it's not completely collapsible, but it's not as stable as what you get in the Brooks, so you're losing that little bit of extra stability in the upper, in contrast to the Brooks Ghost Max 2. So overall, you've got some differences in the upper in both shoes, differences in the cushioning. Both are excellent options for walking and standing all day. I'd say with the Cloudmonster 2, if you're looking for a maximal cushion shoe to do up-tempo runs, that is the perfect shoe for you. If you're looking for a cruiser, then I'd look at the Brooks Ghost 2 for those long, slow runs or nice, steady runs. If you've got any questions on either shoe, please leave them in the comment section below. If you found the video helpful and you're interested in more shoe reviews, then please like and subscribe to the channel.